and expose the people behind the Idlewild Group and the blogger at former White Hat and former.wordpress.com, who had been marauding for over a year, basically not just against you and Miranda as well as myself, but in fact several people that we would consider to be high value. Oh, that's interesting. High value disclosures of mind control and black projects operations, leading us to believe that this guy was a disinfo agent or somebody who was basically using his website to attack the credibility of people who were coming out. Chris took this very personally, and he did a hell of a lot of legwork in order to get to the place where he was confident, and in turn I was confident enough to go public with the information that he brought out, which he did on his blog and I did on my radio show, which at the time was running on another network.
Right.
We're coming up on a year here, and I have to tell you that after these events leaked out, I kind of went through a dark night of the soul, because I realized that what we do not only matters, but it matters so much that there are people out there who are threatened and who will actually go the ultimate length to silence people who really are telling the truth. So that means we hit a nerve.
That, and also one of the things that Chris Neal was doing was following the money trail. And that's basically where the second part that we're writing will go.
Yeah, no, this is hard to talk about.
It is. It is. One of the reasons several reasons of why we waited so long to continue to do anything public, and one was to give wounds time to heal.
Yeah.
And the other was we needed certain people involved to make mistakes. And there was a couple of people that helped push these people to make those mistakes. And they did. And once we gathered enough information, and then we were handed a thumb drive by someone that contained information that we didn't know, we knew it was time. And we began to put it all together, and we're just getting started with it.
Yeah, as you know, Randy, there's a ton of information and research that we've amassed, because you've done a huge amount of that as well. I mean, this is something that we're all involved in and have talked about offline. So it's a lot to deal with, and what we really wanted to do, what we felt was so important to do, was to first just tell Chris's story without a lot of the other details, because he oh boy, this is going to be really hard. You know, he was very brave. He did what a lot of people would be too afraid to do, and he needs to be acknowledged for that. In our minds, he is a hero for that, and we did have to wait, like Duncan said, but just on a personal level, I think it's helpful for people to understand that, like you said, Randy, this is very real. The threats are very real. The opponents are very real. The game to try to silence all of us is very real. And this is how it impacts real people who unfortunately lose their lives, basically in the line of duty, trying to bring truth to people who often have a very hard time hearing it. And we didn't want his death to be in vain. We didn't want it to go unacknowledged. And we knew we were going to do this.
We had another issue, I would call it a problem, but it was a contrivance. We're dealing with cowards. We're dealing with people who operate behind the scenes through any number of handlers, people who have motivations that sometimes we don't completely understand. The money aspect of it is one thing. The other side of it is the silencing of people who have come out and told their story. There is nobody who has a reason, a good reason, just as the people that talk to you, the people that talk to me, the people that have a story to tell. You don't go doing this in public, and especially using your own identity, because you are going to be mocked, you are going to be stalked, and you are going to be basically hung out to dry, especially when it comes to mind control projects, and mind control projects where there is a massive amount of ritual and sexual abuse involved as well. And that's really what Chris brought out on his website. He told you the story of what happened to him in terms that were brutal. And for doing that, he was mocked, he was ridiculed, he was held up in front of an audience of people on the former White Hat website to be just completely intimidated, and yet he was not intimidated. He fought back. And we watched this happen. And what people who hear this need to understand, and the people who have followed the story, because it's threaded across multiple websites and multiple shows and commentaries, is that this was well financed, well supported by a few high profile media people as well. And we've named the names, and you will notice that video has never gone down. I have never backed off from it. And oddly enough, the people involved with it, and those who know, got very quiet at that point. Almost alarmingly quiet. Because we hit the nerve. And this cost some people. It cost me because I walked away from a network because I was not comfortable with where I was at in respect to some of these same people. And so it's cost us all to both say what we were going to say and at the same time be quiet, because there was a lot I think we all would have liked to have said.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But then that wasn't the time. The time's now. The information is amassed. It is more than adequate to do what needs to be done. Will this possibly get some type of FBI grand jury investigation? We don't know. That would be nice. But there's other ways to prosecute someone than just a court, in a court system.
It would be helpful if, we in the past have had people asking how they could help us. I think helping to get Chris's story out would certainly be a help. We're not exactly wanted on social media sites by certain agencies, so they tend to remove our profiles. We're a bit limited on that front, but it would certainly, it's not just, because it means a lot to us all to tell the truth about what happened to Chris or what Chris did, but it also means a lot to us because this is something that people can learn from. I mean, he did this not just for the community, but for everybody, because there are people like Chris out there trying to get the truth out. And it is the truth, as painful and difficult as it seems to people, and as little as they want to deal with it, the fact remains that it is the truth. And it's frustrating sometimes to think about somebody like Chris dying to get truth out if if nobody wants to listen or hear it. And maybe people won't hear it for a long time. Maybe, hopefully, somebody will down the road, but it would mean a great deal. I think this is just a really good case study of the reality of what can happen when you're dealing with people who are trying to get the truth out.
And I like what you said, honey, where people were asking what could they do to help. You're right. We have no media outlet. We've got OffPlanet Radio and Randy Magas. That's pretty much what we've got.
Well, and again, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I seriously doubt any law enforcement agencies are going to be like, well, that's some crack reporting there, guys. We're going to definitely reopen the investigation. You know, it's not going to happen.
Well, we've seen what happens. The blogosphere is obviously, you know, it's like the population in general. There is some real gems out there, and there's a whole bunch of crap. And, you know, I personally became very discouraged after writing for over 5 years on all of these shooter events and getting to where we had the Sandy Hook event a year ago in November or December. Yeah, it's coming up on a year for that. Wow.
Yeah.
And exposing an actress who was interviewed by Diane Sawyer as a school teacher at Sandy Hook Elementary, literally ripping her page from the database at Crisis Actors and putting it out and realizing that nobody cared about this. That's the futility of being a blogger and getting big truth. Chris was doing this on such an incredible level of even his own pain, his own experience. And to see the ridicule that he was held up to by people who are clearly, I would say, no longer human in terms of their affect and emotional abilities, to see him held up to ridicule and mocked the way he was, as was done by these people to other subjects, points to a big problem in that this has been sold as entertainment. This is not frickin' entertainment. This is about people's lives. This is about what happened to children, and this is about what happens when these children grow up and they become the ruling elite's worst nightmare.
Yeah. Dead on. Dead on.
Perfect. Very well said, Randy.
And, you know, we got to say, I do believe that this article series will absolutely garner some decent attention because of some of the names that are going to be brought out in it and the money trail. And we're going to be very unpopular.
Yeah. Well, what's new about
even
that?
more so
What's
than
new?
we are now.
What's new? You know,
Yeah.
that's fine. But I also like what you guys brought up. No, we don't have any type of multimedia. We're not allowed to have a Twitter account. We can't keep a Facebook account. We can't keep any of that. So anybody who wants to post it, just go for it. I mean, it's there. Just post it anywhere you want.
That would be great. That would be wonderful. And even if it doesn't go anywhere and nobody talks about it, and this goes for anything that we do, we've just decided, you know what, we're going to put the information out there anyway. Even if nobody hears it, you can expect not just articles about this whole Chris thing, but we're going to start talking about a lot of stuff, and we're going to be putting it up on the website.
Well, what we basically decided on a long drive,
A very
long drive about a month ago, is it's almost time for us to go, and we're going out with a bang anyway. So we figured let's just go out with a double bang.
Yep, and in the past, we've had to hold some information back for various reasons, usually pertaining to safety of us and others. and other factors, but or trying to be diplomatic or, not